Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, still powering through all of today's reviews of yesterday's songs. Wow, when I word it like that, it kind of makes it sound like I'm behind the times. I'm sorry, I just like to sleep on every entry to get my full thoughts in order before I review them. Is that so wrong? Well anyway, yesterday was a sort of national final for Belarus. Except it was 100% jury-led and also like several months later than we're used to, so Belarus is switching up their style this year. And when all was said and done, the winner of that selection, according to the jury, with an astounding score of 69 out of 70, is Zinaida Kuprianovic, or just Zena for short. You might recognise her from hosting Junior Eurovision last year, and a song entitled Like It. Not I like it, not you might like it, but just like it. It's completely in English. Music by Yulia Kireva and Viktor Drobush, and words entirely by Yulia Kireva. Am I saying that right? I know Cyrillic languages can be a bit tricky on my English mouth because I don't speak words good that are from that far away from where I speak English. That was a really bad way of explaining that I just suck at speaking Belarusian, or Russian for that matter. I'm making so many enemies here, let's just get on with the review! Belarus is another country that I just didn't touch at all this year in terms of watching pre-selection materials. And it's nothing personal, there was no particular reason to that, it's just there's not time to keep up with every single national selection this year. And, well, there were others that caught my eye first. Sorry, Belarus. I did know, however, that there were a couple of infamous names trying to take part, but they ended up not making the cut, and that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge. I'd sort of half heard that Zena was in there, and that was... oh, and Napoli, but that was kind of it. Well, fair's fair. As I said, I do recognise Zena from her hosting gig at last year's Junior Eurovision, and as a Belarusian Eurovision song, I'm pleasantly surprised, given how all over the place their entries have been over the years. So, I guess this shows that they actually really are kind of a wild card country, capable of sending pretty much anything at the drop of a hat. So, with that observation on the table, crossed with this kind of proves that my Patreon video about Belarus was right, that they see what works in the junior contest and then scale it up for adult Eurovision, let's launch ourselves into this song head first and see what might make us say, yes, I like it. Reference. Okay, so seriously, I wasn't expecting a song as relatively contemporary from Belarus this year, given their track record. That's not meant as an insult by any means, I just didn't think that this sort of thing was part of their national musical palette, so to speak, so for something so much more competitive than their usual pedigree to crop up like this is absolutely to their credit. The thing is, it's not just another pop song of its type either, or, well, okay, it kind of is, to be fair, but at the very least, within its instrumentation, amongst other things, it's got that flute-like instrument that might actually just be a flute, that gives some extra flavour from the second verse onwards and in the final refrain, so that not only makes it a little bit more distinct over the course of the song, but also it gives it a decidedly Belarusian kind of flavour to it, you know? Sure, no one country can absolutely lay claim to the humble flute, but its inclusion at all does at least make it seem like Zena is happy to have her song shout out her national roots in this way. And at Eurovision, the more you can do to make a song your own like that in terms of personality and nationality, the better. As an artist, meanwhile, Zena is absolutely no stranger to getting out there and owning the stage, what with her experience as a presenter and a performer, and yeah, she absolutely brings the sass with her live portrayal of this song. Again, in a manner similar to the use of the flute, she completely owns the song with her personality and stage presence, which, with all due respect, a song like this is kind of going to need if it wants to stand out. The staging from the national final, if it can be called that, is a good start to this as well, what with the backing dancers, so if they expand on that at Eurovision and add some visual sass to go with her personality, I think she'll really be able to sell this song to very great effect. And finally, something that will really boost this song live is the ending of it. I'm not saying the best part of the song is when it ends, I'm saying, like, the song kind of drifts a little bit in its closing minute, but the ending itself is very sharp and instant, without sounding randomly abrupt. Like, the song doesn't just cut out, it comes to a clean break. With Eurovision entries, a clear-cut finish like that is the best possible option, because it lends itself so well to a live show like Eurovision, for a singer to hit their final note, end that final note, whether it's a sustained note or just a sharp single end, and then cut to the crowd cheering. It's good TV, and it's psychologically satisfying too, at least far, far much more so than, for instance, that old 1980s tradition of just looping the final refrain's instrumental and then fading the music out because you didn't know how to end a song, which is so normal back then and taboo nowadays. So, compositionally as well, there is merit to be found here. Brava, Belarus! Still, people so far tend to seem to be a little bit on the lukewarm side to this song, so we ought to look into why that might be, in all fairness. Well, for one, music of this genre tends to flirt with meaninglessness on a regular basis, and this song really is no exception to that. This is what I praised Switzerland for not doing, having lyrics that are just a means to an end, mouth noises to emerge from a human face because that's what these songs have and because Eurovision entries need to have vocals. They're a part of the experience of the song without really enhancing that experience. And through that final minute of the song, it starts to get really repetitive as well, what with an already repetitive refrain being repeated multiple times in a row. It really starts to grate really rather quickly. On top of that, the national final performance wasn't flattering, I guess I'll say, in terms of live vocals. True, I will defend Zena by saying that she's nowhere near as bad as all the mean comments seem to suggest, and for someone her age, she has immense talent. It's just, it doesn't fill me with the most confidence for the Eurovision performance as of yet, but still, there's 2 months between now and her time to shine on the stage in Tel Aviv, so I fully expect that she'll be all polished up and good to go by then. But for now, all the effort is on her posture and sass and choreography and charisma, and not quite enough is being placed on getting her vocals in tip-top condition. Granted, the problem is much more in terms of conviction and projection as opposed to just hitting the actual notes, so it doesn't sound awful at present, but it still definitely needs work. Similarly, I, for one, kind of struggle a little bit with her diction specifically. In this case, it's not her accent that's stopping me from understanding the words, because, I mean, she's a presenter, she's used to presenting, so she'll understand the importance of speaking clearly. It's just that in this song, she doesn't quite sing clearly enough, bearing in mind how rapidly the lyrics come out. And I know that when I speak too quickly, I stumble over my words, so it's like, bearing in mind, I stumble over my words in my native language, she's a Belarusian girl singing in English, so it's forgivable. It's just, I still end up pretty lost when trying to follow the words of this song. Admittedly, you could argue that because the words are so meaningless, as I just criticized, that it shouldn't really matter that much, but I mean, come on, someone did take the time to write those words in the first place. It's only fair that I at least try to pay them due attention, you feel? Now, ratings out of 10, my favourite part of the video, except not because it's always the most controversial. I was originally going to be a little bit more generous here, but I think this gets a personal score of 6 out of 10 from me, with the asterisk that sometimes when I listen to this song it goes up to 7, but then when the song ends it goes back down again. I don't hate this song by any stretch of the imagination, and by Belarus's standards it's actually really good, both as an adult Eurovision entry and compared to their junior stuff as well, since Zena's kind of on that borderline anyway. But as a song, I get tired of it very, very quickly, not least because it's not the only song of its kind this year, which in and of itself is a style that's kind of everywhere at the moment, even outside of Eurovision, but also because even as a song of its kind, it's not really the strongest. It's just kind of there. It's not trying to copy a specific song or write another entry in the same style as a specific song. This song is just, hey, we threw some words together, now let's fit them to this rhythm because this rhythm is what all the popular songs use nowadays. And it just comes across as a little trite for the sake of it. For similar reasons, my technical rating here is also 6 out of 10. The instrumentation and production values are of a decent quality, and Zena is a perfect fit for a song of this style, so I don't doubt that she will really slay, or whatever, on the night of the semi-finals, but I won't describe this song as just noise in terms of composition, because that's not quite what I mean, but at the very least, it's a mediocre composition in a highly competitive genre that people are already beginning to grow weary of due to overexposure, and it's only of that genre in the first place because the genre used to be Flavour of the Month and people are overexposed to it. Don't get me wrong, there are good elements to be had here, but the final package kind of falls a bit short for me at the moment. For the moment though, is this a good move for Belarus? Kind of not. On one hand, the song itself is of a higher standard, or at least a more accessible standard, than a lot of Belarus's recent entries, so that much at least is to be commended, but the selection process itself is kind of a step backwards, to be honest. The production values and graphic design are definite improvements over previous years, but the fact that it's 100% jury sort of begs the question, why bother broadcasting it at all? Credit where it's due though, I get the impression that Belarus is at least trying to improve its ways, perhaps if only to find a way to start qualifying more consistently, but it's gonna take at least another year of efforts to that end before I can definitively say if it's paying off at all or not. Speaking of qualifying consistently though, is this going to make it through for Belarus? Is it gonna make it through for Belarus? I'm trying to be funny here. At present, maybe it's the mob mentality of the fans swaying my opinion somewhat, but at present I am doubtful. It's going up against two songs of a similar genre, admittedly separated by the semi-final split, but both of them are of much higher production values, and they have singers who are already much more au fait with performing on a stage of this scale. So I fear that even at its most polished, this song is going to be outshone by some of its rivals. And I mean, it's not only in the same semi-final as Cyprus, but in the same half of the same semi-final as Cyprus. So I worry that even if you put them at opposite ends of the running order, Tamta's production values and fan following and stage presence might completely eclipse this entry. But I could be totally wrong there. Zena has a lot of promising young talent to play with, so she might surprise us all in Tel Aviv. She could be the next big thing in the Belarusian music industry, and if she is, then absolutely more power to her. So I turn to you, lovely people. Do you think she can do it? Will she qualify? Is it a good song? Is it not, in your opinion? How do you feel? I've said this so many times it's beginning to lose meaning, but comment section below. iCard in the poll of the video. Strike that, reverse it. But yeah, let me know how you feel. We'll share our thoughts, have a nice civil discussion, and yeah. To Zena and to Team Belarus, I wish you the very best of luck when you hit the stage in Israel, because this is quite a good song based on Belarus's track records. It's just, I wish you luck when going up against similar songs, because you might need that luck. But you might not. We'll have to see.